The Sunday school lesson was familiar. When your burden grows heavy, ask God for strength. But the message carried a more powerful and personal meaning than usual because of who delivered it, Jimmy Carter. Mr. Carter, the 90-year-old former president, taught Sunday school here in his hometown for the first time since he disclosed on Thursday that cancer had spread to his brain. With easygoing humor and his usual toothy smile, Mr. Carter gave 2 back-to-back Bible lessons to unusually large crowds totaling more than 700 people, some of whom had traveled hundreds of miles just 3 days after undergoing radiation treatment. He spent less than 5 minutes recapping his illness before saying, "That's enough of that subject," and beginning the lesson on faith, love, and relationships. Mr. Carter said he and his wife of 69 years, Rosalind, had resolved never go to sleep without settling their differences. Just being able to admit you might be mistaken and that the other person might be right will improve a relationship, he said, prompting laughter from the crowd at Maranatha Baptist Church. He encouraged his listeners to consider God a partner in their lives. Anytime, we can just bow our heads and say, "God, I'm really troubled. I ask you to give me the strength to bear whatever is on my shoulders and to bear whatever comes to me," Mr. Carter said. Mr. Carter has been teaching Sunday school for more than 3 decades at his small red brick church, which has about 40 regular members. His appearance on Sunday drew the biggest crowd that members could recall, with about 460 people packed inside. The turnout was so big that Mr. Carter gave a second lesson at the nearby high school for about 250 people. About 70 others had to be turned away. People seated underneath the stained glass windows nodded when a church member, Jan Williams, described those who had managed to get a seat as blessed. Mr. Carter, wearing a gray suit, entered and exited without fanfare. He paced across the front of the sanctuary as he spoke and occasionally returned to a lectern to read aloud while wearing a pair of thin wire glasses. His wife sat nearby. As worshippers left the church, they showed one another newly taken photos with the Carters. Cricket Keating said Mr. Carter's irrepressible joy had made the trip from her home in Columbus, Ohio, worthwhile. She and a friend arrived in planes at midnight to be first in line and spent the night in sleeping bags. She said she felt humbled by Mr. Carter's message. "No matter how bad things are, we have company in this world," she said. Chet and Stephanie Cranfield of Merritt Island, FLA, stopped in planes after attending a funeral nearby. Mr. Cranfield, 58, said he began chemotherapy in November for kidney cancer. Both husband and wife said they were comforted by Mr. Carter's message of optimism and pushed to rely on God for strength. "He was wonderful. I feel uplifted," Mr. Cranfield said, holding his wife's hand. "Like God can carry you through anything," said his wife of 32 years. Mr. Carter promised those in the crowd at the church he would be back to take photos with them after teaching the second class. He asked that they come up in groups for pictures. "If you come up by yourself, I won't say anything, but I'll wonder why you don't have any friends," he said, exiting to a burst of laughter.